Over the course of its 4 main shows, the Arrowverse has produced 20 seasons. These seasons have varied in quality wildly, some of them being really bad, some of them being just okay, some of them being really good, and a couple of them being just awesome. In this video, I will be looking at all 20 of these seasons and ranking them from worst to best. This video will also include short reviews of each of these seasons, as well as an overall score. If these scores are different for the seasons than I've given them in the past, it's because I kind of redid all the scores like a little bit just to make it more sensible for these seasons like compared to each other. So just disregard that. I mean, these scores would be the official scores, if you want to call them that, of what I think about these seasons. So with that all out of the way, let's start this list with number 20.
They don't come out the same.
You can't be the Arrow. He died. So who are you?
You're about to find out.
Arrow Season 4 is a terrible, embarrassing season of Arrow. The season had a villain who was way too powerful for the main character, making him look too powerful, as well as making the main character feel like a dumbass who didn't know what he was doing. On top of that, the fight scenes are not very good, which is weird because every other season of this show has pretty great fight scenes, even the less than great ones. The writing was pretty cringy, and basically everything that they can screw up, they did. The season was chock full of Felicity as well as Felicity's parents, which made the show pretty unwatchable, and like as a cherry on top, they killed Laurel in the end, making the season, in my opinion, the worst season of not only Arrow, but the entire Arrowverse, and I'd give it a 3 out of 10.
You are pointless, sad, pathetic.
Don't talk to me like that!
Supergirl, stand down!
I don't want to let go.
I don't want to either.
Supergirl has without a doubt gotten better every season, but it definitely started off pretty horrible. Supergirl Season 1 had horrible writing, bad acting, terrible effects and fight scenes, annoying forced feminism that is way more prevalent in this season than any of the other of the 3 seasons, and a pretty bad main villain. On top of that, the storyline of the season is pretty much incoherent, and in the end, this is definitely the worst season of what is not a very good show, and I'd give it a 4 out of 10. Legends of Tomorrow had a very disappointing start in Season 1, to say the least. I think it could have been a pretty great season because it had a lot of great things about it, like most of the characters are really great, the effects of the fight scenes, and the concept of the show is very interesting, but the 3 characters of Hawkgirl, Hawkman, and Vandal Savage ruined the season. Vandal Savage is a really bad villain, Hawkgirl is a really bad character, and although Hawkman didn't appear that much, he also is a very bad character. These 3 characters, the fact that they are all connected, the season-long storyline that they are a part of, and the fact that the season focused so much on them ruined what could have been a pretty good season. So I'd give this a 5 out of 10.
Show yourself, because I'm a nasty piece of work.
You will not escape.
The Bureau needs the Legends now more than ever.
We're a team of outcasts and misfits. You're one of us.
Legends of Tomorrow got a lot better after Season 1, but kind of jumped the shark in Season 4. The magical creatures are stupid, the cast is way too full of original characters and not nearly enough DC characters, which admittedly is only a bad thing if the DC characters are what you're here for, which in my case, the only reason I ever started watching Legends of Tomorrow is because it's a part of the Arrowverse, which is in turn an adaptation of the DC universe, so the only reason I'm watching these shows is for the DC characters. So when I watch Legends of Tomorrow Season 4, and there's barely any DC characters, and the ones that they have don't even look like them because they don't wear their costumes or use their powers, this season just didn't turn out to be a good one. It's also not as funny as it's clearly trying to be, and there are a lot of characters like Mona who are so annoying. The only saving grace of the season is Constantine, but he's not enough to carry a show, including this one. So I'd give this season a 6 out of 10 because I did enjoy some parts of it, but for the most part I didn't really like it.
In order to live, we must keep daring.
We're moving back to Gotham.
Doesn't bother you that I got top credit on this one, does it? Not even a little bit?
Season 2 is a bit better than Season 1, mostly because it introduces, although pretty briefly, my favorite live-action version of Superman, who appears in 3 episodes, and he is pretty awesome in these episodes. I really like him a lot, and I think that he makes this season a lot better, in spite of the fact that he barely appears in it. Everything else, like the acting, the writing, effects, and fight scenes, are only just a little bit better than Season 1, but I think those things, the fact that they're just a little bit better, and the fact that Superman is there, as well as some other things that I did like, I do think that this season is a huge improvement over the first, and I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10.
To kill someone the world already thinks is dead.
You have failed this city.
Arrow Season 3 was not a great follow-up to Season 2. The season-long storyline and everything to do with Malcolm's plan and why Ra's al Ghul is the villain is so stupid, and as a villain, Ra's al Ghul is very disappointing and kind of misplaced as a Batman villain on a Green Arrow TV show. There's also a lot more realisticity than there needs to be. That being said, there are definitely some awesome fight scenes, and I would say it's pretty enjoyable for the most part, so I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Season 3 of Supergirl was the first season that I thought that they kind of put a little bit of effort into the actual season. They had a clear and actually pretty great main villain from the start with Reign, and the Legion of Superheroes were a very welcome and pretty awesome addition to this show. For the most part, this is definitely a lot better than the first 2 seasons. That being said, the season kind of fell apart and was worse than ever near the ending with the reintroduction of, I think her name is Selena, as well as the Argo storyline, and that gun control episode is definitely a lot worse than the first 2 seasons, but for the most part, this is definitely a much better season than the first 2, and it actually has a lot of great things about it, so I'd give it a 7.2 out of 10.
What's happening to me? The side effect. Your original life will fade away. You won't even remember that you're the Flash.
A little quaking in your boots would be inappropriate.
Oh my god.
The Flash Season 3 is maybe the most disappointing season of the Arrowverse because of the underwhelming and so short Flashpoint storyline. The season outside of the Flashpoint storyline is not great, but it definitely is pretty good. I do like the season-long storyline. I do kind of like the villain outside of the villain reveal, which came way too late into the season. And on top of that, I do think that the fight scenes / effects are really good and probably the best that the Flash has ever seen. I mean, just look at the Attack on Gorilla City episode. That looks incredible, so I would give this season a 7.5 out of 10. It would be a lot higher if the Flashpoint storyline was better and way longer. This season could have been on par with the first 2 seasons of The Flash.
I am an agent of liberty.
This is my home.
Mission is to protect.
If you would have told me that Supergirl Season 4 would have been this high on the list, and the highest of any Supergirl season, just like a half a year ago, before Lex Luthor debuted, I would have said that that is ridiculous, but Lex Luthor's debuted connected everything in the season seamlessly, and he ended up being by far the best villain the show has ever had. The season still does have the typical Supergirl problems, and I do think like the first 14 episodes before Lex Luthor debuts are not very good, but once he does, he definitely connects everything together in a very good way, although this season definitely has some shoddy writing, bad effects, and fight scenes. I mean, the fight scenes and effects are not better than they've ever been. In fact, they're actually not as good as Season 3, but Lex Luthor single-handedly makes this the best season of Supergirl ever, and I'd give it a 7.8 out of 10.
I have to fight back.
Oliver Queen took everything from me. I'm gonna enjoy taking everything from him.
The actual opposite that I said for Supergirl Season 4 happened with Arrow Season 7, where if you told me that Arrow Season 7 was only number 11 on the list before the prison storyline ended, I would have said that there's absolutely no way, because the prison storyline was one of the best storylines I've ever had on Arrow. The writing was incredibly gripping, the fight scenes were better than ever, and the rivalry between Oliver and Diaz was actually pretty great at this point in the season. The season looked like it was going to be the best season yet. Sadly, the rest of the season, it wasn't good. There wasn't a clear story for a while, and once we got one as well as a clear villain, they didn't turn out to be a good villain in the end. Amika Queen turned out to be the worst villain that the show has ever had. In the end, Arrow Season 7 could have been on par with Season 1, 2, and 5 as the great seasons of Arrow, but the last, like, every episode after Episode 7 just wasn't great, or at least there are a lot of great ones, but they're mostly contained within their own storyline, and the overall season could have been a lot better, and I'd give it a 7.9 out of 10.
We walk in two worlds. We can only do that for so long.
Arrow Season 6 is the exact opposite of Season 7, where the beginning kinda sucks from everything like the incredibly disappointing conclusion to the Lee and Yu explosion, as well as the Kate and James storyline. These episodes have like a couple of them that are really good mixed in, but for the most part, the first 13 episodes or so are not very good. That being said, episodes like 15 to 23 are really, really good, and I've always said that in media, the ending, or at least like the third act of anything, is more important than the first two. So that being said, Arrow Season 6 is just a little better than Arrow Season 7, but only a little bit because there's nothing in Arrow Season 6 that is as good as the prison storyline, so I'd give this season an 8 out of 10.
How can you not be in on this?
I've got a lock on something.
It's him! It's him!
Now, Cisco!
I don't think The Flash Season 4 is nearly as bad as people make it out to be. The new suit is practically perfect, which really enhances the visuals, which the visuals of this season are great, with the season even containing my favorite episode of the entire show, Enter Flash Time. The problem with this season is, like, Iris being the leader of Team Flash and having way too much screen time, Ammonite Black being the worst recurring character of all time, and DeVoe switching his bodies, making him worse than he could have been, because I think Clifford DeVoe could have been a great villain because Neil Sandilands was doing a great job, and he had a great rivalry with Barry Allen, but the other actors who played him or her kind of were not good, and they basically ruined the villain. Other than all of those things, I really did enjoy this season a lot more than it seemed like most people did, and I'd give it an 8.2 out of 10.
Now let's do this. I don't have a suit.
Actually, I have a backup. Total fan favorite.
The Flash Season 5 had one of the best season-long storylines in the Arrowverse ever. The drama in this season was really great, and the intense moments with Reverse Flash pulling the strings in the background, and the conflict between Barry Allen and Nora, and all of those things, I love everything about that. Sure, the new suit isn't good at all, and the two cicadas, Orland Dwyer more so than Grace, are not good villains, but I was very invested in the season from episode 15 onwards, and I haven't really been this invested in a season of The Flash since season 2, so I would say that this season is better than season 4, better than season 3, and it's a lot better than people are making it out to be, even more so than season 4, so I'd give it an 8.6 out of 10.
You like this, Captain Hunter? But I can't risk putting any more lives in danger.
It didn't start well, but Legends of Tomorrow found its footing in its second season. The Legion of Doom, and more importantly, the Reverse Flash, were great villains through and through, and the season-long storyline was pretty compelling. The season was a lot of fun, the fights and effects were pretty good, and the season was definitely a huge upgrade from its first, and I'd give it an 8.7 out of 10.
Shrink Ray Ray.
I'm not particularly fond of that name.
Rip has been hiding something from us. There's a greater evil coming. Tell me me what we're facing here.
You and your sorry excuse for a team could never handle it.
Legends of Tomorrow was getting better every season and peaked in season 3, or at least at this point. This season definitely was the most fun season in the Arrowverse ever, with a great season-long storyline, a pretty good villain in Mullis, some great characters, interesting visuals, effects, and fight scenes. I don't know, I just really enjoyed this season, basically from start to finish, so I'd give it an 8.8 out of 10.
Destiny. Never forget, I am the fastest man alive.
You wanna be me? Is that it? You wanna be a hero?
Heroes die.
Only if you can catch them.
Season 2 of The Flash had an awesome main villain in Zoom, where they made by far the scariest and most menacing villain the Arrowverse has ever seen. The season doesn't really have any inherent problems, in my opinion. The season also introduces the multiverse very well, and the effects and fight scenes are mostly pretty great. In the end, The Flash Season 2 is one of the best seasons of the Arrowverse, and I would say the second best season of The Flash, and I'd give it an 8.9 out of 10.
I don't want to be called the Hood anymore.
So what do you want to be called?
This season is known as the best season of Arrow, which, while obviously going off this list, I don't agree. I definitely see why people would consider it to be the best season. I would say it's the most consistent season in its high quality, with an incredible main villain in Slade Wilson, a great season-long storyline with some amazing fight scenes, and mostly really good characters and character development. My only real problem with the season is that Felicity is very annoying. I mean, if you look back at it now, it's pretty clear this is where she started to get really annoying. Other than that, there's really no problem with the season at all, and I'd give it a 9.2 out of 10.
Oliver Queen died is the day something new was born. I am Arrow.
Arrow Season 1 has one of the best season-long storylines of any season. The way the story unfolds throughout the season is 100% perfect from start to finish. Malcolm Merlyn is a pretty awesome villain. The fight scenes and intense moments are top-notch, and all the characters, except for maybe like Thea in the first couple episodes, are great. It's basically a perfect season without any real problems, and it is almost the best Arrow has ever gotten, and I give it a 9.3 out of 10.
Just your everyday kind of bad guy shootout. My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive. A friend recently gave me the idea for a new name, and something tells me it's gonna catch on.
While Arrow Season 1 has one of the best season-long storylines, I would say that the actual best season-long storyline in the Arrowverse is The Flash Season 1. The way the story unfolds is incredibly intense and done so well. Reverse Flash is an amazing villain, with one of the best villain-hero rivalries in the Arrowverse with Barry and Thawne. This season perfectly captures the awe of the Flash's powers and the world, and I don't think they really ever fully recaptured that in any other season. And the only time they ever did was an Enter Flash time in Season 4. This is truly an amazing season of superhero TV, and easily the best season of The Flash, so I'd give it a 9.4 out of 10.
If you hit me again, I'm gonna kill you.
As you probably already knew, my favorite season of the Arrowverse is Arrow Season 5. Coming off of Season 4, I wasn't expecting much, to the point that I kind of gave up on the show until I saw the trailer for Season 5, which kind of looked promising, and once I watched it, I was blown away by just the first episode. Things only got better from there as they introduced Adrian Chase, aka Prometheus, my favorite villain on the show, and my favorite main villain of any given one season. Prometheus and Green Arrow had an epic rivalry that heightens the season as well as any scene they had together. I would say that the scenes where Adrian Chase and Oliver were together. The scenes where Stephen Amell and Josh Segarra were together was the best acting we've ever gotten from this show. On top of that, the action is top notch in this season. The only time the action of the show has ever compared to season 5 is during the prison storyline. The acting again has never been better, and I don't think has ever been as good since. The season-long storyline is one of the best, and the season ends perfectly with easily the best episode of the Arrowverse to date in Lian Yu. In spite of how that Lian Yu finale and cliffhanger was concluded, it still was an awesome episode and an awesome ending to an awesome season. In the end, I don't think Arrow Season 5 will ever be topped as my favorite season of the Arrowverse at any point, so I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. So anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What is your list for all the Arrowverse seasons ranked from worst to best? If you want to see more videos like this, there will be a lot of them in the top corner of the video, the updated list because all of the seasons of the Arrowverse just ended. And if you like this video, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.